Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you starting your work week out with us. A little chilly out there. Hope you're staying warm. My wife is so excited. We're making soup tonight. She's turning on the fireplace. It's like her Super Bowl to have cold weather out there and get blankets out and stuff. I'd rather just be 105 degrees, frankly.
Ooh, and I don't know about 105, but
if we're comparing,
80s.
yeah, I'm good with 80s too.
Yeah,
we're gonna get 80s later this week.
Yeah.
But, getting out of the car this morning when it was like 39 to get the kids in school, it's terrible. I hate it.
I hate having to, when you wake up in the morning, having to get your car hot instead of just get into your car and going.
I do have the garage, which helps.
Okay.
I had a carport at the old house. I have a garage at this house. It's something I know now to never take for granted. Like, because I when I had the carport, it's like, yeah, you just get in a cold car. Now, got the garage. That's a big help. I was looking yesterday. I got up. I was in Coshada or whatever, and got up, and it was warm yesterday here. And I was looking through my Instagram, and all my Cubs people were getting ready to go to the Bears game, and they were all just like super bundled up. And I was like, "What's the temperature in Chicago?" So I looked it up. It was 33 and snowing yesterday.
No way. Can't do that.
I think T-Bob's got a rude awakening up there.
Oh no! I don't even want to drive in snowy conditions, so they got it.
That first cold blast of the year is upon us. It's chilly today, but I'll be back in the 80s by the end of the week, which is kind of where we prefer things around here. All right, Jordan. We had 4 games I picked on Friday. How do you think I did?
Not too good because what game I was looking at specifically? The Vandy game. I know they covered.
Vandy did cover.
I know they covered
in overtime.
But
I needed overtime to go exactly like that.
I'm about to say, but I was like, I kind of like Auburn in that spot. I feel like Auburn needed to win one of these games, and that wasn't a win.
I was taking points with Mississippi State and Missouri, both at home, and they both got boat race, so we lost those. But we won the 2 late games, won Auburn and Vanderbilt, and we won Kentucky, Florida. I had Kentucky, who just destroyed Florida.
Well, everybody wanted Mississippi State to beat Georgia, and I thought they had a good chance. Georgia literally just shut that up so fast and just ruined my whole Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, it was 24-7 at halftime, and they kept piling it on. It was just a complete bloodbath there. So I was 2-2 week. So no harm, no foul there. Well, I mean, we're so far behind 500 that we didn't have winning weeks, but we had a 2-2 week there. Let's talk about the action though in the games. I realize Missouri is playing with a backup quarterback. The backup quarterback does not play defense. And Texas A&M has scored at least 38 points in every SEC road game and every true road game, because they did in South Bend as well. Their offense is just really, really good. Marcel Reed gives them versatility. He is a playmaker. He was efficient in this game, threw for 221 and then ran for 29 more. He threw for 2 touchdowns, didn't turn it over. Ruben Owens ran for 2 touchdowns. They got Emmitt Smith's kid involved. EJ Smith, he goes for a touchdown as well. I mean, they hammered Missouri. It was 14-0 at halftime. It was just like a defensive slugfest, and then they turned it on and scored 24 points in the second half to kind of pull away and win it. You did see Missouri start to get something going, running the ball in the second half, and I think that the scoreboard had something to do with that. So when you look at the stats at the end of the game, and you'll go, "Oh, Missouri ran for 207 yards. Like, that's pretty good." A lot of it was when they were 2-3 scores behind in the second half, and it didn't really matter that much. But two things can be true. Two things can be very true. Texas A&M's schedule is as easy as you could make a Southeastern Conference schedule. It is. The toughest game that they've played to this point in the SEC is probably Missouri, and Missouri had a backup quarterback who's a freshman. I mean, maybe it's at LSU. I don't really think so. They certainly didn't treat it that way.
It's supposed to be.
Maybe you want to tell me that at Arkansas with that offense, but like Arkansas is winless in the league. And Florida's a disaster. Mississippi State has won one of their last 18 league games. Auburn's atrocious, fired their coach. Like, every game they've played has been against a team that is just not any good. I mean, these are their SEC wins. Auburn fired their coach. Mississippi State, 1 win in their last 18. Arkansas fired their coach. Florida fired their coach. LSU fired their coach. Missouri, backup quarterback who's a freshman. Like, it's the easiest Southeastern Conference schedule you could possibly play. And their next game's against South Carolina, who probably should fire their coach. Like, it's amazing. But I said two things can be true. Their schedule's really easy. They're also really good. And when you match those two things together, you're going to get a lot of blowouts. And they blew out Mississippi State, and they blew out Florida, and they blew out LSU, and they blew out Missouri. And they're going to be a force in this thing. Like, they've got a chance to win the national championship. I'm curious how it looks when they play Texas. If they win that game, I'm curious how it looks when they play Georgia or Bama, whoever it is that they play in the SEC championship game. And then we'll have a better idea of how they'll match up with Ohio State if they get there. But this team's good enough to do the whole thing. And that is appalling to me, but it doesn't make it any less true. So that's something that stood out to me. Offensively, they're really good. Defensively, Elko has been good. So I'm terrified about Texas A&M for sure at this point. Other storylines from the Southeastern Conference, this has got to be rock bottom for Florida. I mean, I realize you fired your coach, so how much further can you go? But what if I told you back in July when I'm in Atlanta at Stats Sports Bar in the hotel lobby where we spent 3 full days basically, said, hey, by the way, before you get to Thanksgiving, right around early November, Garrett Nussmeier and DJ Lagway are going to get benched.
Yeah, I would have said, you're crazy. You're crazy.
They're benched. LSU is now 2-4 in league play. Florida is 2-4 in league play, and they went up to Kentucky and just got absolutely throttled. I mean, crushed by a terrible Kentucky team. And I think Mark Stoops has probably saved his job because they went to Auburn and thumped them. They crushed Florida. And they're going to beat Tennessee Tech next week. So all of a sudden they'll have won 3 games in a row. Like, they're 4-5. That'll be their 5th win. If they can find a way to split Vanderbilt and Louisville, which I kind of doubt they'll do, but like, they'll get to a bowl game. Like, maybe if they go 5-7 by losing those 2 games, they'll fire him. Like, I think that's run its course there in Lexington. I don't think the Kentucky fans really like him very much because of the whole thing with Texas A&M. But like, he may have fought it off. It's crazy to consider, and I think it would be foolish of Kentucky to continue to keep him there because I don't think there's a future with him, at Kentucky and turning the corner and being what they were for that like nice little 3-year run there. But it's certainly possible at this point, as they were good enough back on Saturday. The other games, Georgia, as I mentioned, all over Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State probably just ran out of gas. They've played some tough games. They played some really competitive games. They finally got the monkey off their back by beating Arkansas after being right there with Texas and right there with Florida and right there with Tennessee. But they're still not a very talented team, and Georgia is. And Georgia's kind of punked them, took it to them, beat them by 20 in a game that never was really close. And it's not a stunning result, quite frankly, but one that you certainly saw. And then Ole Miss wins the game. And keep in mind, like, Ole Miss is just chugging along at 9-1. They're ranked 6th in the country. I don't know if anybody's really talking about them outside of Lane Kiffin potentially taking the Florida or LSU jobs, but Ole Miss has Florida at home this week. Did you see Florida this week? I think Ole Miss got a pretty good chance to win that game. Then they're at Mississippi State, and the Egg Bowl's weird. It's at 11 a.m., and I can find a world Mississippi State hangs in there and wins that game. But if Ole Miss splits those 2 games, which is the worst they can do, they're in the playoff. And that's something that matters to the people here in Baton Rouge if you think that Lane Kiffin is one to consider. Like, Lane is doing something that I'm kind of noticing. He tweeted a picture of the whole Kiffin family, including Chris Kiffin's family, his brother who works there, and put the home emoji on that 2 weeks ago. And he's talking. If you missed this, there was a proposal on the game. They told a guy that, hey, you're going to come down and kick a field goal. And he was in on the bit, and they brought him down on the field, him and his girlfriend, now fiance. And instead of going to kick the field goal, he just proposed to her on the field at Vaught-Hemingway. And then Lane Kiffin came over and took a picture with him. And he mentioned in the press conference, like, crazy things happen here in the SIP. And he's really leaning in to the Ole Miss thing and it being home and and it just doesn't feel like he's going to pull that rug. Like, I think he would know if he was going to take the Florida or LSU jobs. And I don't think he would intentionally fan those flames if he knew where he was headed. And I might be crazy, and I might be naive, and I might be stupid, and we'll talk about it if I am. I have no problem mentioning how dumb something I said sounded. Happy to do it all the time. But I just don't know that it makes a lot of sense with the things we're seeing, with the fact that Ole Miss is going to go into the playoff, with the fact that he's sending all these tweets and saying all these things. Like, maybe if the New York Giants call him, you go coach Jackson Dart, like, okay, that may be a different deal that he couldn't have foreseen a couple days ago. But, like, right now, it just doesn't feel like he's going to Florida or LSU. That's just my gut. I don't know anything. It's just my gut. So that's a look at the Southeastern Conference back on Saturday. My record for the season against the number, a little bit better than it was 3 weeks ago, but still not very good. 36-46 on the year. 10 games under 500 with 3 weeks to go. We got to put in overdrive over the last 3 weeks.
You got to start nailing it. You got to start hitting out the park.
I don't like my odds. Come back with more Denton Day in 15 minutes at the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. If you're headed out for family vacation, family trip for Thanksgiving, headed with the family out for Christmas, and you don't want to put those miles on your vehicle, how about a rental from the folks over at Genesis? It's your opportunity to get behind the wheel of a Genesis for the first time if you have not. Could be the eye-opening experience that you need. You'll know if you're taking your family on that road trip that you're in an IIHS top safety pick, because every single model, all of them on the line at Genesis, are top safety picks. Some of the safest cars on the road. You'll have that peace of mind. You'll also have that luxury driving experience. Stylish, sleek, comfortable, all the features that you're looking for. And if you don't really know, they'll show you over there at Genesis Baton Rouge, because their brand ambassadors are second to none. You'll be treated like a guest, not a customer. If you'd like to get behind the wheel of a rental, just reserve it for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Both are coming up, and they're happy to help you there. Airline at PQ or online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Chugging along here, Denton Day will be here in 15 minutes talking some national college football storylines. Always enjoy our conversations with Denton on Mondays. Frank Wilson came to the podium today and gave a pretty long opening statement in his press conference. And one of the things he talked about was the decision-making right before the end of the first half. I talked about this on my post-game show. I really, 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 really did not like the decision that LSU made there. If you need your memory refreshed, LSU was trailing 10-3 in the game. Your offense had done very little. You drove down and missed a field goal on your first drive. You went and got a field goal later on, but you weren't really in any sort of offensive rhythm. You had 3 points to your name, but LSU was getting the ball to start the second half, and you're only down by 7 points. So I think that was you were in a decent spot considering the way that your offense had played. And they got the ball kind of in the shadow of their own goalposts, and the clock was ticking, and LSU had made the decision they were going to try to go get some points before the end of the half, but they got to a 3rd and 11 with just over a minute to go in the half. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, okay, 3rd and 11. You've got a situation where your tackles are iffy. 3rd and 11 is a very low percentage play. Even if you get the 11 yards, the odds that you're going to go down there and get points here are not great considering the way that your offense has played. Alabama had no timeouts. I wanted to just run it down to about 20 seconds, punt it just beyond midfield, and give Alabama with no timeouts very little chance to get into field goal range. Like, that to me was the wise way to do it based on your personnel, the spot in the game, the scoreboard. I just didn't think it was a time to be aggressive. And Garrett Nussmeier threw the ball away into the middle of the field, which I thought was a really bad decision as well. But you stopped the clock with a minute to go, 55 seconds to go. And then you punted, and Alabama hit the 2 big plays and got a touchdown right before the half, which was a complete backbreaker in the game. 17-3 is just eons different than 10-3. And I just really, really, really did not like the decision to go for that. I know that coaches, generally speaking, want to be aggressive. Frank Wilson talked today about the fact that he really felt like they had a good chance to go down and get points. You can tell me that Xavion Thomas was wide open on the play. That was pointed out by McElroy on the broadcast. Frank Wilson said it without saying it explicitly today, and I understand that. But you have to understand that when you decide to call that play, like, and to make that decision, like, one of the things that can happen is you miss a read. One of the things that can happen is you drop the ball. One of the things that can happen is you get sacked and fumble. One of the things that can happen is, like, there are a lot of bad things that can happen when you decide to do that. There's very little bad that can happen if you hand the ball off and run for 4 yards and the clock runs down to 20 seconds and you punt. Like, yeah, technically you could fumble on a running play. Yeah, you don't have the upside of potentially getting points if you do that. Like, but if you put the pros and cons list together, I have no interest on 3rd and 11 from the shadow of my own goalposts trying to be aggressive there and ended up stopping the clock and giving probably the best passing quarterback in the SEC 55 seconds to try to go make something happen. And you just, that was to me, it was a miscalculation by LSU staff. Frank Wilson backed it up today. He believes in it. I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm saying what I think. My belief is that was the wrong decision to make on Saturday night. And I think it cost LSU, and it certainly made the game feel very, very different at 17-3 than it did at 10-3. So that's my 2 cents on that call back on Saturday. Frank Wilson obviously considered it heavily because he talked about it again today in his press conference. I want to briefly mention a little bit of basketball here today before we get to Denton Day and switch over back to football. LSU is on the hardwood tonight against UNO. I don't know how I feel about Jordan's ability to answer this question properly. He is a New Orleans guy, got a chance here, so we'll see.
I'm ready.
Who is the director of basketball operations at UNO?
Oh, come on, man. I'm from the city,
I know
man.
you're from,
Master P, of
okay,
course.
Sometimes UNO falls. Sometimes UNO slips through the cracks. Can we admit that?
Don't get me wrong, they do. They do. But just because Master P's there, they got the name. Go. Yeah.
Well, Master P, Percy Miller, is in charge over their basketball ops. They brought in 10 new players, and they may have sprung the upset of week 1 in college basketball. UNO went to TCU. They led by 20 in the first half and ended up holding on by a bucket to beat the Horned Frogs in Fort Worth. So it's a team that comes in with a win under its belt. They played a weird mid-season exhibition. They played their opener. Then over the weekend, they played SUNO, Southern New Orleans, in an exhibition that didn't count. But they played them. Now they're going to step back into games that do count tonight in the PMAC at 7 o'clock. LSU still significantly better team than UNO. They're a 20-point favorite tonight in the game. But an opportunity for LSU to get back on the floor after a solid effort in their first game. Just a couple things that I wrote about at LouisianaSports.net about this game tonight. Not a ton to dive into here, but there's a kid for UNO, Colton Benson, who is a shooter. He shot 13 threes. He only made 4, but he shot 13 threes at TCU. Last year, he shot 39% from long range at Texas State. He made 37 free throws in a row at one point last year. He was 5 for 7 from 3 in the exhibition win over SUNO over the weekend. So this is the guy that their offense runs through. You'll see him pretty early and often. He's going to be shooting a lot of shots. So LSU, I'm curious. I'm less concerned about what the defenses they're in or what this Colton Benson, how are they going to deal with? I'm more interested in, okay, this is going to be the first chance that I get as a fan to see who Matt McMahon puts on someone who's clearly the other team's best player. He's not an SEC player, but clearly Benson is their best player. Who guards him? Is it Max McKinnon? Because this is a 6'2 guard. He's a 2 guard. Is it Max McKinnon just because Max McKinnon's LSU's 2 guard? Or does Pablo Tamba take that assignment because he's going to be their defensive stopper? Maybe Rashad King gets that assignment. He's been a good defender in his time. Whoever they put on him is going to do a fine job. This kid's not an SEC player. It's just, okay, that's who they think their best defender is. And that's what I'm curious about watching this LSU team. So I want to see that. I also, and I mentioned this last week, I want to see Jalen Reese get a lot of minutes. He's LSU's freshman point guard. DJ Thomas is going to carry such a massive workload on this LSU team. But you can't ask him to play 38 minutes every night. You have to spell him some. And this part of the schedule, while it's really boring for the fans because they're going to beat all these teams by 20 points because they're not very good, it's a bad, soft, non-conference early schedule. But it is a chance for Jalen Reese to get minutes. He played 14 minutes back last week. I hope he gets 20 minutes tonight. That'd be awesome. He just needs reps because they need to be able to trust him for 6 to 8 minutes in league games. You just can't ask DJ Thomas to do everything when you get to January and February. He will wear down. So I think Jalen Reese's development needs to be expedited in these games against these lesser teams. So I'm curious to see him. And then LSU, just the issues they had in their first game that got covered up because they played an awful team and they shot 71% from the floor. They turned it over too much, 15 turnovers back in the game against Tarleton State. Got to clean that up. Got to keep that number closer to 10 tonight. And then the defense wasn't good enough early in the game, and that didn't manifest in the points that Tarleton State scored, and it didn't manifest itself in their shooting percentage. It manifested itself in the offensive rebound stats for Tarleton State because LSU was having to help on straight line drives. And because they were helping, which was effective, and they were causing misses with their help, there was nobody to block out on the other side of the rim. And Tarleton State was getting rebounds because you were getting beat off the bounce, and the help side defense was going over and couldn't rebound. So they got to play better defense and get on the glass. And I expect that they will do that. They're big. Now, UNO is really big for a mid-major team, a Southland team. They've got 7'2" kid. They got a couple kids over 6'9", 6'10" player. Like Tarleton State didn't start anybody over 6'6", and that can it's hard to find big guys that can play. The big guys that can play don't play in the Southland, and so this is a spot here where usually you see they come in with like kind of a 6'8" big maybe. UNO's actually got some size. They'll get on the glass if you don't put a body on somebody. So for Mike Nwoku, Jalen Reed, for Robert Miller, for those guys, they gotta mix it up a little bit with some more size than they saw last week in the opener. But tip off at 7:00 tonight at the PMAC. It'll be streaming on ESPN Plus, and we'll mention it on tomorrow's show. I didn't want to spend an entire segment on hoops here in the heart of basketball when you're dealing with coaching buyouts and quarterback benchings and all that. But we've talked a lot of football today. Wanted to sneak in a little bit of basketball there as Tigers and UNO 7:00 tonight from the PMAC. We'll step aside, come back with Denton Day, switch things back to football next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com. Freezing cold this morning. Dark early. Like these are not ideal conditions to go work on your golf game, right? That's what the winter months are. It's just tough. But that's why a place like Swing Easy Golf Club is so awesome, because you go in to your private bay, climate controlled, you're indoors, and you can work on your game. You can go to that driving range setting on the simulator. You can watch the path of your shots. You can see your carry distance. You can see your ball speed, see that slow-mo visual of your club at impact. All this is really, really helpful, and it's a climate-controlled way to get great reps and work on your game during the winter. You don't want to bundle up, put a hoodie on, gloves, go out there and freeze when it's 40 degrees trying to hit golf shots on a day like today. You don't have to at Swing Easy Golf Club, and you can get a membership there so that you can have access hours per month for free with that membership. Go in there and ask them. They're on Segan at Perkins at Swing Easy Golf Club. You can find them online, swingeasygcbr.com. Swing Easy Golf Club here in Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Denton Day, SiriusXM College Football Overtime Fridays and Saturdays, where you can find him. You can also find him here every Monday at 2:30. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Denton, how are we doing?
Hunt, what's up, man? It was a fun weekend of football, kind of boring, but we had some moments.
There were some moments. There was certainly a moment in Happy Valley. What do you make of the Indiana Hoosiers and their ability to win games like that?
That was really impressive. I was also impressed by Penn State in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It looked like they finally showed up, albeit about 6 weeks too late to save their season, but it was nice of them to finally show up to play a really good team. But Indiana finding a way to win was impressive. That was certainly the best drive of the game for them, and for Mendoza. He finally showed a little bit of what I would call a Heisman pulse, because there was plenty of opportunities during the course of that game for him to blow Penn State out of the water and was unable to do so. I did honestly adjust the way that I admire Indiana. Is admire the right word? I don't know that it is, but last weekend you had asked me, I would think that Indiana might be able to push Ohio State. I don't think that anymore. I think Ohio State is the absolute real deal, and Indiana's still good, but they're in a different weight class than Ohio State right now.
Let's stick in the Big Ten. I mean, when you look at Oregon gritting out that win, is that a positive for you, or is it a negative if they've got into a slog with Iowa?
If you look at it in just a one-game sample size, it's a positive. You go on the road to Iowa. For them, that's halfway across the country. Yeah. It's a weather game. It's rainy, and you come out of there with a win. That's a positive. When you take into consideration offensively how they played against Wisconsin, prior to playing Iowa, which was their last game, all of a sudden you're realizing maybe Dante Moore is not all as hyped up as we had thought he was. They have an offense problem in that they're not putting together great games of offense against teams that they should. As good as Iowa is defensively, and they are good, Oregon should be smacking them around. They should, and they're not able to do so. I still like Dante Moore. I still think he does a bunch of things really well, but I am starting to get just a little worried about Oregon in that what happens when they happen to play teams that can play offense and you can't, because they've gotten really lucky with only 21 against Wisconsin, where Dante Moore doesn't throw for 100 yards, but it's Wisconsin. And the same thing with Iowa. You only score 18 against them. He struggles again in the passing game, but it's Iowa. They can't put up the magnitude of points that other teams can. So I'm a little worried about Oregon in spite of the fact that they won a hard one this weekend.
We all saw this coming from 100 miles away, but Notre Dame's just beating a bunch of bad teams right now, and they're kind of out of the limelight, and they're just handling their business, and they crushed Navy over the weekend. But, what are we supposed to make of Notre Dame right now?
Honestly, I don't know, because you're right. They're beating bad teams. Or let me say this. They're beating not great teams, because it's not that Navy's a bad football team, but Navy is not a great football team either, and Notre Dame has a much better roster than the Naval Academy does. And we're just supposed to think that Notre Dame is super awesome because they beat up on them. I mean, if you stack their resume against everybody else's resume who is in contention for the college football playoff, you'd probably argue that Notre Dame has the worst of the bunch.
Yeah.
Because their second best resume data point is a loss.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you beat USC, hooray, and then you lost to Texas A&M, but you only lost by a little bit. And then you lost to Miami, but you only lost by a little bit. So I think the committee's going to like Notre Dame regardless, just because it is Notre Dame and there's staying power with that name. But I don't know that they're a super-duper awesome football team because they haven't played anybody that's super awesome recently. And the only teams they have played, well, we'll say they played one team that's super awesome, and they played Miami, and they lost to both of them.
Miami's in the ACC, and I'm having a hard time taking the ACC seriously at this point. I mean, Virginia loses to Wake by scoring 9 points. Louisville loses a home game to Cal. What am I supposed to do with this?
You're supposed to enjoy the ride. That's kind of when I look at the ACC. You ever been on? I don't know what the public transportation situation is in Baton Rouge, but in DC we have a metro system, and sometimes I get on the metro and there's a guy breakdancing, and it's kind of annoying. But if he's a good breakdancer, I enjoy it for a couple of stops, and then I get off. That's kind of what the ACC is. There's no one that I'm taking seriously. Like, this breakdancer isn't all of a sudden going to be on Broadway or on America's Got Talent in 2 years. There's no one I take seriously in the ACC, but I'm going to have a lot of fun in the process of these next couple of weeks when they beat up on each other, and we have to decide at some point who is going to be in the ACC title game, and then which one of those teams is going to get the privilege of getting blown out by either some Big Ten or SEC squad.
No chance the ACC gets 2 bids, correct? It's a 1-bid league?
No, that ended when NC State beat Georgia Tech.
Okay. All right. Speaking of taking teams seriously, Texas Tech 29-7. That defense, it's crazy to say because they built their entire resume and identity based on throwing around and playing no defense. They play defense now, and they played defense against BYU. Do we take Texas Tech seriously now?
A little bit. You definitely take them seriously with Baron Morton in. He's good. He rises the level offensively. Which, I mean, obviously, duh. But I think that offense as a whole just operates a lot better, and it feels like the team operates a lot better with him. But I also think that was just a little bit of a referendum on what BYU is. There was a reason they were double-digit underdogs. They're a fun team, but I don't know that anyone was confusing them with a great team. So I think that was maybe a little bit more about BYU than it was Texas Tech. I think they'll be fun in the college football playoff if they happen to match up with an ACC school, whether that be Virginia, Pitt, Louisville, SMU, whoever gets in out of the ACC. They'll hang 40 on them, comfortably. But once you start playing these Big Ten and SEC schools, I don't know that they stand up to them.
Julian Sayin is rolling up some numbers. Ohio State's beating the brakes off people, but I don't feel like anybody's really watching because they're not playing interesting football games. Purdue, Penn State, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Washington, Ohio. Like, it's just not very compelling. Like, you said earlier you think Ohio State is the best team. Like, what makes you say that? And do you think Julian Sayin is the front runner for the Heisman Trophy?
So I think they're the best team because they have a gear offensively that I don't think anyone else has. And you're just watching, it feels like they're kind of flipping a coin on which receiver is going to have an awesome day. And I think when it comes down to it, that there's not a lot of teams that have the defensive ability to guard both Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith while then also getting pressure on the quarterback. It almost feels, and I know this might be a little blasphemous in the South, but it almost feels like that Alabama team from a couple of years ago when Mac Jones was tossing the ball around the yard and guys were just so stupidly wide open. It feels very similar to that. Now, I say all that to say Julian Sayin winning the Heisman Trophy would be a very bad thing because they're not playing anybody.
Yep.
Right? Like I can with one on one side of my mouth say that I think they're the best football team, but on the other side saying like you need to have some sort of Heisman moment. And because you're crushing teams and you're not playing a bunch of ranked teams, I don't know that he has one. He puts up numbers, yes, and he's a quarterback on the best team, but I don't know that what he's done this season would constitute as a great Heisman caliber season.
All right, let's take a look briefly ahead to next week. It's there's some good stuff. There's some not as good stuff. I think Georgia, Texas, probably the headline with those two brands, and I think both teams kind of need this one as well. So, how do you feel about that one in Athens? Georgia's a 6.5-point favorite right now.
This is going to be a headbanger, or at least I'm hoping it's a headbanger. If Texas wins, they're still alive now for the college football playoff, and I don't think that this would eliminate them if they lose, because they would still have the ability to beat Texas A&M the final week of the season. And I think a 3-loss Texas team with the ranked teams that they beat, you would make an argument for them getting in, especially if it comes down to them or like a second ACC or Big 12 school. So I think Texas still would be alive, but I think Georgia needs this win to kind of showcase that we belong in the conversation as a legitimate championship contender. Because I don't know about you, Hun, but when I think of teams that can legitimately win a championship now, I think of Ohio State. I do think still of Indiana, even though they got pushed a little bit. Texas A&M's in that conversation, and Alabama, but it does feel like there's a cutoff. And Georgia and Ole Miss, while they've had good seasons, are kind of on the outside looking in. I think it would be very nice for Georgia to not just beat Texas, but beat them pretty handedly, and then maybe they jump into that conversation. I will say that Gunnar Stockton has played significantly better as the season has progressed. He looks more comfortable, and he looks more confident. I still don't love him, but I think he does good enough things, and I think they have enough talent on that offense to be really, really good. I do think they beat Texas. I think the fun story of Texas potentially getting in comes crashing down soon, but it does add to the intrigue of the matchup this weekend for sure.
You mentioned Bama, and I'm skeptical of Alabama because I don't think they can run the ball. And they didn't run it on Saturday against LSU, and there have been issues running the football for them all year, really. And I think Simpson's really good, but putting it all on him for 3 or 4 games seems risky to me.
They will have to run the football, but this is where the SEC dominance, you can say bias or dominance, is going to come in. I don't think they're going to need to run the football in the first few rounds of the playoff. So I think if they can get one good run game and they time that one good run game when you're taking on either Ohio State, Indiana, however the matchups end up matching up, I think that would be a perfect scenario for Alabama, because you're right, they're not going to run it. If they play 3 college football playoff games, they're not going to run it well in all 3 of them. I just don't. I like Jam Miller. He's certainly not any of the running backs that we've seen previously at Alabama. I think they're putting a lot on Ty Simpson, so I'm with you with that. But I don't think I think they'll be able to get away with it in the early rounds of him just kind of throwing it around.
Interesting. You got the Hollywood against the blue collar Midwesterners, USC and Iowa in the Big Ten. USC sitting there at 7-2 theoretically. could be an at-large team. Iowa, we know, plays good defense. Lincoln Riley, what do you think about that one from the Coliseum?
Man, I'd be so excited if this was like Lincoln Riley 4 or 5 years ago, when I still thought of him as this dynamic, hot, young offensive mind. Now I really don't. And it's not to say that he can't draw up a good offense, but I don't know. I've been a little unimpressed with some of the stuff that I've seen from USC. They got a big one over Northwestern on Friday, but like a big win over Northwestern in 2025. I mean, how big really is that? They had a chance against Notre Dame, and they blew it. They had a chance earlier this season against Illinois, and they blew it. They just don't happen to play really well against good teams. So I'm not all that intrigued in that one. I think Iowa might come away with it.
Interesting. He's Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime with us on Mondays. Thank you, sir.
Hunt, appreciate it, man. Be well.
We will talk next week. Got one more segment to go. We'll come back and close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
LSU baseball played in Hammond on Sunday. Tigers dominated an 18-inning doubleheader style matchup with the Lions over there in Hammond, America. I did not go. I was coming in from where we did the pre and post game show on Saturday, so didn't have the chance to make it over there. But I did read the box score and saw some of the statistics. And one of the things that's standing out to me in this fall with LSU baseball is the bat of Zach York. He's the Grand Canyon transfer, big 300-pound first baseman, left-handed bat. And I saw him the first scrimmage I went to in the fall. He homered. Then on Friday, I went out to the box and watched some scrimmage action, and he punched a single. He's left-handed bat, punched a single into left center field, really nice short swing, drove it into the left center field gap, and then he homered again in Hammond. It feels like he's really swinging the bat well. They're looking for a little bit of thump in that offense. You've certainly have to replace Jared Jones, who hit for a ton of power. Luis Hernandez hit for a lot of power in the postseason for you last year. He's gone. Danny Dickinson was a double-digit home run hitter for you last year. So you've got to find some pop in that offense. Milam's going to give you a little bit. Curiel may grow into a little bit more, but you're not going to get much from Stanfield. And so kind of looking around, where can we get some offensive punch from? And York's a guy that was a better average hitter than home run hitter at Grand Canyon, but certainly has some pop. And look, at 300 pounds, he's a strong dude. And he certainly hit some home runs in this fall. And I really liked the approach where he hit the ball the other way. It was really nice. I'll also mention this on Friday. I wrote this at LouisianaSports.net. I saw Gavin Guidry pitch for the first time in a long time. And, man, I was impressed on Friday. The fastball was 93. He was throwing a straight changeup, which I have not seen him use a lot of in his time. When he started as a freshman in 23, it was all fastball and that big hammer breaking ball. He still throws that big breaking ball. He also threw a little bit of a tighter slider that I liked seeing. And he got 5 outs on Friday, all strikeouts. He struck out Curiel. He struck out Milam. He struck out Jake Brown. So basically LSU's like top 3 returning hitters he struck out and looked really good doing it. He looked healthy. He finished those 5 outs that he recorded and then went out to right field and was throwing full strength for about 10 or 12 more throws. So he looks healthy and looked really good on Friday. So it was nice to see Gavin Guidry back out there, and feels like he's probably on a trajectory to be ready to go when the new year comes. So that's exciting, and that's a guy that they were looking at as a potential starting option last year before he got hurt. He may be a potential starting option for this team. I'm not sure, but at the very least, you've got a reliever who's gotten huge outs for you early in his LSU career, who has good stuff and featured that on Friday. So that's good for LSU to get Gavin Guidry back in the mix. I've got a baseball breakdown. If you want to go to LouisianaSports.net, click the teams tab, click LSU, and you can go to LSU baseball. There's a report up from Friday as I've kind of detailed some of the things I've seen throughout the fall. I'll have a couple more reports as LSU winds down fall practice here in the next couple of weeks. So wanted to get that little baseball nugget in there before we finish things up. The other thing we've got to do, we'll take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. If you're tailgating this weekend, need to pick up some beers, Flight by Yingling. If you're looking to get out there and just hang out with some buds, no better beer to pick up than Flight by Yingling. It's the next generation of light beer, 2.6 carbs, 95 calories. Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer.
So with it looking like Kyler Murray time is coming to an end in Arizona, we'll see how it plays out. And NFL, they're always off the record, random NFL exec. NFL exec said that Kyler Murray should rather go play baseball before becoming a backup quarterback. Is it too late for the former Athletics baseball career to take off? Take it or leave it?
I'll leave it. Like, he could go do it. I mean, I doubt it. I doubt he would make it, but it's not too late. He could try. I think it's probably likely that he's going to ink a deal and play some more NFL football. Potentially in New Orleans.
Oh, please, Lord.
The betting favorite.
Let's not do that.
New Orleans Saints are. We'll see how Shuck does the rest of the way, what the Saints want to do in the draft. But maybe you bring him in as a backup, veteran backup.
No, if we need Kyler Murray as a veteran backup, we have gone horribly wrong.
Was Kyler Murray the one that was playing video games?
Yes,
okay.
with the Call of Duty initiative in his contract. Yes, it's Kyler. So speaking of the Saints will not be selecting number 1 in the draft in April. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think the Saints are going to win 4 games.
Yes.
That's what I think. I think you're going to be 4-13, and I don't think that's going to be the top pick.
As long as we top 5, I'm happy. That's a successful season to me. Number 1, because the Saints would get the number 1 pick in a draft where there's not a unanimous number 1 pick.
Yeah.
That's what I hate the most. You couldn't get one. Oh, there's a Myles Garrett on the board. There's one of these generational guys. No, you get Mendoza. So, no, I'm good on that. All right. All right. Is Tyler Shuck better than Bryce Young? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I don't think a lot of Bryce Young. Now, keep in mind, Bryce Young was awesome at Alabama. Like, so good. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's little. The arm strength's not awesome. His awareness is not great. Like, he's just not been productive. I don't think of much of him at all as an NFL quarterback. At Bama, he was really good, but as we know, there's a whole world of difference between playing at the college level and playing at the NFL level, and he just doesn't translate to me. I think the Panthers are in a terrible spot because they're like winning some games, but they've got the wrong quarterback, and how are you going to change that?
Around him,
it's just not. They need a new quarterback.
And it's crazy you say that because we talked about how weird the NFL is. This same Panthers team shut out the Falcons.
Yeah, 30-0.
30-0, and then you only muster up 7 points against the Saints. This is I don't know what you want to do.
Week to week league.
Yeah, week to week, any given Sunday. But that's it for Take It or Leave It.
That's it for Take It or Leave It. We did a lot today, covered a lot of ground. I talked about at the top of the show, LSU's offense just not good enough in Tuscaloosa. Talked about the quarterback situation. Frank Wilson discussed that at his press conference today, and we found that in my second segment today. You can find both those segments at Hunt on LSU, wherever you find your sound. Spoke about the Saints game. You can find that at Hunt on Saints. Good step in the right direction for the Saints entering the bye week. Great to enter the bye week for the Saints with a win there. Shook looked really good in spots. Statistically, not going to blow you away, but just managed the game well, got through his progressions, hit a couple deep shots. So you like that. So we talked about that a little bit. Talked about the SEC and how that shook out back on Saturday. LSU basketball is playing tonight. We mentioned that a little bit. LSU baseball in action over the weekend. Talked about that. So plenty. If you missed any of today's show and any of that interests you at all, go search Hunt Palmer Show wherever you find your sound and go check that out on demand when you have a moment or two. Busy show tomorrow. We got Colin Jeter coming on with the LSU Alumni Association, former Tiger tight end. We'll chat with Glenn West about the Tigers, talk to Sharif about the Saints. Also have a recap of LSU basketball tonight. Tigers in action against Master P and UNO. It's 7 o'clock from the PMAC. You can listen to that on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, 6:30 pregame with Chris Blair and John Brady. I'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll have a write-up on it, LouisianaSports.net tonight. And then we get into LSU and Arkansas prep, as Frank Wilson talked about that a little bit today. And it's a challenge for LSU. Newsworthy today. LSU Western Kentucky Senior Day next week. That'll be a 6:45 kickoff on the SEC Network. That's it for us today. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. Have a safe and warm Monday evening. We're back tomorrow with a Tuesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.